favorite piece I've ever played in orchestra has been Dvorak's Ninth Symphony, Fourth Movement. And it's not because the piece simply just sounds good, or because the first 10 seconds reminds me of the Jaws theme. I love this piece because it reminds me of a period of growth in my life. The entire 11 minutes is sadness, anger, and desperation. It is hatred, love, and confusion. It is perseverance, resilience, and triumph. Dvorak's Ninth Symphony, Fourth Movement is the reason I can say I am who I am today. Last year, from February to May, I had learned the hardest lesson of my life. People will run over you happily. My friend had done something, for lack of better words, uncool, and I didn't blame them for it. Instead, I held myself responsible. Feelings of frustration and anguish would often resurface, but I refused to let them bother me. Then, in March, we had a concert. It was our full orchestra concert, meaning the woodwinds, the percussion, the brass, and the strings would all come together and play one song. The movement began with the entire orchestra together. Everybody was in sync. First a dotted quarter note followed by an eighth note, then a quarter note followed by an eighth note. But as the piece progressed, the notes soon became frantic, and the strings found themselves overpowered by the rest of the orchestra, no longer in charge. The first 10 seconds of this piece were terrifying. A tea kettle of emotions had gone off inside of me. I was livid. Livid at my friend for running me over and not even thinking twice. Livid at the fact that I was so useless to defend myself in fear of losing this friend. And livid at myself for never being able to put my own sanity before my need to please others. As the piece continued, undertones of passion were evident. The violins, the violas, the cellos, the basses, all representing my passivity, just wanted to be in control again. They were always in control. Why couldn't they be in control again? But the brass, the woodwinds, the percussion, all representing my passion, this was their first time on stage, and they just wanted to be heard. That stage was a battlefield of clashing emotions and clashing melodies. After that night, it was my favorite concert of the year, and I blew it. After that night, I realized something. Holding in my feelings was no way to live. It was like breathing through a coffee stir. Sure, I was getting enough air, but not a lot and not all at once. The rest of the orchestra and the strings could balance the melody, but for that to happen, my passivity, the strings, needed to step back and allow somebody else to have their time in the spotlight. I continued to listen to Dvorak's Ninth Symphony, Fourth Movement every day after that concert. I would relive that night on stage over and over again. Soon, April went by. May was my breaking point. I had realized for me to move on, for me to live a life free of regrets, I needed to let this passionate side of me show. I needed to allow this lone horn to have its solo and finally stand up for myself. I was scared of confrontation at first, but I was determined and I said my piece. I got the apology I deserved. And with that, the entire orchestra played triplets and duplets alike, starting the finale. Clashing melodies, clashing emotions could finally agree on one ending. Dvorak's Ninth Symphony, Fourth Movement is the reason I could say I love myself today. It is the reason I started to believe I had to stop living for others and start living for myself. It is the first time I ever listened to my heart. Whenever it plays again on my phone, which happens every so often, I am able to smile because I was able to assert myself and my right to be heard. I found a balance between the woodwinds, the percussion, the brass, and the strings, between my passivity and my passion. And because of that, I was able to create a stellar conclusion to my very own symphony.